Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. It's one of those days where I just sometimes you have those days where you have a lot of stuff going on and you have to create multiple pieces of content on the same day. And today is one of those days. Earlier, I did our last draw for our 100th celebration of the Board Game Binge podcast. Later tonight, I'm actually doing an interview with Frank West on the podcast live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then guess what came in the mail today? A package. Not just any package. This package came from the manufacturer of the Nutty Squirrels of the Oakwood Forest game. This is a game that we launched on Kickstarter a few months back, was successfully funded, and now we're getting ready to get into the actual manufacturing of the game. So the next step in the process, as we've been going back and forth, is for them to send us a physical proof of the of all the printed pieces. The thermal form stuff will have to come later, but the printed pieces to sign off on, to double check, make sure there's no issues, because after this step, if we give approval and there's an issue, it's too late, right? They go to full production after this. So this is really a critical step. So today I thought we would actually experiment with this kind of multicam here. After we had our meeting with JT Smith, the game crafter, we did a box opening of some prototypes that came of our next game, Planting Evidence. And the one crappy thing is I had to keep holding things up to the camera. So now you can see down here, face down on the table, you can actually follow along the top-down view as we open this stuff up. So they bubbled the crap out of this, and I suspect because they want everything to be in tip-top shape. I know from the photos there's one thing I saw that I wasn't super keen on. So I'm going to look for that when we open this up. I'm sure you guys we'll see if you guys spot it as we open it. I'm trying not to hit my mic at the same time. So it's a little bit of an acrobatic move here. All right. Now I see why they had to bubble wrap the crap out of this box. Look at this box. I'm going to call this a box in quotation marks because this is just cardboard that's been taped together to hold stuff. I'm sure that's not a reflection of the quality we're going to see. These guys did amazing with their quality so far. I've been really, really impressed, especially with the reviewer copies we had. We had such a low number done. You expect when you get like a low print run of products being done, for the quality not to be super great or to be okay, like kind of passable. Their quality was fantastic. Like they were almost retail ready games, I would say. So let's open this up. Ooh. Make sure there's, I keep hitting the mic. Don't worry about that. That box is empty. And yet another layer of bubble wrap. Well, hey, you know what? They're taking care. That's the key thing here, because this is, again, the piece we sign off on. So I don't know if I have it behind. I do have it behind me, so I'm going to show this in a second. Whew. For those who play games with me, and I'm sure it's an OCD thing, but one thing that I cannot allow happen is have the back be a different orientation from the front. That drives me crazy. So I'm going to fix that in a second. So first and foremost, let's kind of put this on the table. I'm going to take the original reviewer copy just to show you kind of what we did. So this is the original one. Move over here. So you can see that we had original boxes formed, kind of these trays that we had inside the player boards. The challenge being is when we ship this with our Thanks But No Thanks game, which I'm also going to take off the shelf without dropping everything everywhere, is what you're going to see here is this box. Maybe better do it this way. Is wider, all right? So you can see, like, get this camera. There we are. So this box here sticks out, about 1.5 inches past the Thanks But No Thanks box. Not usually a big deal, but when we get boxes made for Thanks But No Thanks, they're pretty standard and they come in different depths. It is way more efficient for us to have the same box that we put the Thanks But No Thanks in also hold the Nutty Squirrels of the Oakwood Forest. So if we want to put, say, 2 Tanks games in one box, we can do that, or 1 Tanks game in one Nutty Squirrels box, we can do that. But right now, our original prototype, which was measured basically to fit our player boards, but wasn't really, I didn't really think out as much as I should have on how it is lined up with the other games that we've already done. So when we're shipping multiple games to people, it's efficient. So let me move that one over there. So the next thing I did is, so we made it narrower, which, yeah, you can see it there. So you can see this one sticks out a little bit further. Try and get my orientation on the camera here. So we brought it in, so it's the same width as a Tanks But No Thanks game. And then we added some height. So one thing we found when we did this prototype is everything fit in like super snug. The challenge being we've got an add-on now where there's these plastic acorns that people can buy and add to their game. And there's like 75 acorns. That's a lot of extra plastic pieces to go in the box. Likewise, some people may want to print the minis. We provided STL files as part of our campaign for people to actually make these little minis of the characters. To fit all that in the box, we had to go with a larger box. So the box is larger for that reason. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm trying not to break anything. There we go. Okay, so let's open it up. See what we got. The printing is pretty consistent, I would say. We have a matte finish. We did a matte finish because that's just, I prefer matte finish games. I know some people like the spot varnish. I'm personally not a fan of spot varnish on board games specifically because I like to be able to kind of absorb all the artwork. So that's why we did that on this one. I'm just going to kind of check out the edges here. So we got our branding on all sides. Logo. I probably shouldn't do that because I'm banging up my pieces. Okay, so that all looks good. We got the very talented Mitch DeSleps little logo in the bottom right hand corner, which I love. Okay, we're going to check we changed the color of the acorn from the original because that was an error I made on my end when I was quickly trying to get the files off. And Mitch asked I fix that. Likewise, I can see an error here. So if you look at this tail, so if I get the original one, this is going to seem real nitpicky, but this stuff matters. So if you look at the tail here, I'm not sure if you can see on camera, but there's like a gap between where his tail is and the branch. So it doesn't really look like it's kind of wrapping around the branch very nicely. So we had that fixed. However, now I see on this one, even though we fixed it, it looks like it's either shifted on the artwork or it is, they had to rescale it. So I'm going to take a look at the source files. I want to fix that just so that tail looks nice as it wraps around that branch. We added leaves to the top to add some color to the top just to kind of anchor it. So you can see leaves up here. If you compare that to kind of the original box, again, no leaves at the top. This we found brought more color up here, brought your eye up to the title, which we liked. So it's just more for the flow of the eye and adjustment of the artwork. And then there was also a thing that we had on one of these guys' tails where the leaf behind in the background was kind of peeking out, and it was just kind of like the nub of a leaf, and it looked kind of weird. So we wanted to shift the artwork a bit just so it fit properly. So overall, I'm very happy with the way this box looks. This looks awesome. This is what I like to see. I like to see stuff come the way it's intended to be. All right. Oh, actually, I'm going to look at the back real quick, too. Another thing, I got to rotate the box because the orientation. So we swapped the picture to put an actual picture of the game on the box. That was important to us. Likewise, there was a couple typos we fixed in the box. We added the UK certification because that comes into play in, I believe, January of next year. So although these will ship before that, we haven't done the testing yet. So when we do the testing, we're going to be testing for CE, the United States regulations as well, because Amazon needs that. I guess CE is not good enough in the States. Canada, same thing. Canada now has, Amazon Canada wants to see the Canadian testing protocol. Even though it matches the CE one perfectly, they won't accept your paperwork. They actually want to see the codes from Canada on there as well. So our testing protocols are going to be a lot more robust on this particular game. And of course, you can see very quickly that this is a bilingual box. And our intent is to sell this coast to coast in Canada at retail at some point. And to do that, you need to have a bilingual box. Even Amazon, for all you developers out there looking to sell your games in Canada, Amazon's clamping down big time. They want to see bilingual boxes. The regulations actually are that this falls under special packaging. So for most games, you need to understand the language is written in to actually play it. So there are some, ways around that. You don't technically have to have your games bilingualized right now, but Amazon is one of those companies that just doesn't care, and they hit a button, and then it's up to you to kind of prove them wrong on regulations. And it's just way more time and energy you're going to put into doing that versus just doing the bilingual in the box if you need to, or a sticker or something like that. All right, so let's crack open. Open Sesame. So this is one of the first things I noticed in the proofs that I received that I want to adjust. I'm going to adjust the inside of this from a couple places. One, I don't like this white here. I'm not sure if you can see on the inside lid along the edge there where you have this peeking through of white. Technically should be green. So I'm going to have those leaves kind of bleed over more so that there's no white peeking in behind there. It's a minor detail. Again, it's one of these kind of things that seems real nitpicky, but it bugs me. So I'm going to have it changed. Likewise, this nest shape should be shifted over because that's why this white's peeking here. So I can tell that that was shifted in production because it wasn't like that in the files we sent. Likewise, again, this is going to seem really nitpicky. The leaves here are much bigger than the leaves on the side, which isn't a big deal because you're kind of looking in close. But again, since I'm going to be doing changes anyways and adjusting the graphics a bit, I'm going to make all those leaves more leaves and smaller leaves to fill in that space, just to make it that much more elegant when you open up the box. But print on the inside sleeve, which is one of the stretch goals that we had as part of our campaign. Next, we have the player boards. Interesting. So what I'm going to do for comparison is I'm going to open up the other game and review our copies. It could just be my eyes, but I sense a slight difference. Oh yeah, I can feel the difference. So this is the original board. And this is the print proof. I can see some bubbling in the lamination. Again, these were done by hand, so that's to be expected. The graphics look great. We made this change here where we had kind of the arrows. And again, they didn't use the font. They didn't use the outline files. These are why you get your printed proofs. We're going to have a conversation with these guys because we actually mentioned this before they did this, that they did not use the proper files and they went and they used the wrong font. So this little 2 here doesn't look like a 2 because they defaulted to some font they didn't have. They didn't have our font, so it defaulted to another. That needs to be changed. We opened up this area here more so we could have more acorns nested in when you score, just because we found that if you reached your score of 15, 20, you almost had to create like a pile in this little circle here. They didn't stay in there as nicely, so we've done that over here. But the biggest thing I can notice as soon as I pick these up, and again, it's very, very minor, but it does seem like a slightly thinner paperboard. Still thick enough that it's not going to warp. We got the slots on the back to hold the cards. So of course, this is the kind of thing you do when you get these live prototypes, is you actually slide the things in, make sure the cutouts are actually the right size. You'd be surprised how many times you get something where you just assume until you actually measure it. So it's important to measure it. So, but overall, the player boards look really nice. We're gonna do some tweaks. Again, this has got to be perfect. I'm actually seeing a lot of bubbling on the. You can't see it on camera, but I can see it from my angle. It could be just spotted varnish. But I'm gonna ask about that. But man, do these ever look sexy? These are some pretty premium player boards. This was really kind of the showpiece of the thing when we had it done. So that's the player boards for the printed job. Oh, there's the baby. Get baby in there. Yeah. So here's another thing. This is why it's important to get this. So you can see underneath, the artwork is shifted. It's not laminated properly. So that artwork on the underside layer needs to be shifted down so it lines up properly with the board. I can also see that right here in the nest. See how the nest is not centered? So this is when you have a conversation in your manufacturing plant and I am very, very friendly when I talk to the plants, but I often will express my concern. If things are not at this stage, if there's something that's not perfect, it concerns me. And I make sure to let the plant know that, you know what, until we pull the trigger on the full production, I can move plants. All right. So this is something that needs to get fixed. It also impacts our ability to do future games with you if you're not going to put an eye on stuff like this. But if you're sending a print proof to your publisher or to your manufacturer, you think you would double check all these just to make sure they are perfect. I would. If I was sending something to a client and I can only send one thing, and in fact, we do this on the supplement side, we'll go through and we'll make sure we're sending them packages that aren't scuffed and, have the proper information and so forth on it. So interesting note. All right, let's look at this one. Okay. Here's another thing. So again, I'm not sure if you can see close. Again, they've probably hand cut this because again, it's just a printed proof, but I can see the print line there. So when they cut this, they cut on the outside of the print line instead of the inside of the line. That would not fly for me when these are actually at final, like the final copies going to retail. Should not be like that. Likewise, this back should be colored. I believe it was colored in the past. So let's open up the other one. No, it was white. Okay, I was wrong. See, sometimes you learn that you're wrong in some cases too, which is all right. So that's white. I don't hate it as bad. It'd be better if it's green. I can see if I can pull that off. We got the instruction book, which looks too big for this box. So I am going to, because right now it's curling. So let's see if, let's open up this box here. Well, technically it fits in perfectly, so the curling could just be because they just threw everything in and we don't have the thermal tray, so that'll be a lot flatter. So here's the cool thing about the instruction booklet is we've got this is why you do the printed proofs. So you could have a conversation with somebody literally 6 times about the way things are supposed to be printed. And they say, yes, they fully understand. And you even send them proofs. And I can give you an example. Here's one I did right here. I actually sent it. So I did this, I filmed it and sent it to them. So I said, okay, just so there's no confusion, when this prints, when you get to the French side, it flips upside down. So no matter which way you open up this book, one side's English, one side's French. But when you're going left to right, you can see that things are oriented properly. So I had this conversation literally about 6 times to the point where I was concerned enough that they weren't understanding that I actually did that mock-up. So when I flip this one over, what happens? Uh-oh, things are not that way. So what do they do? When I scroll through, halfway through you've got switch to the French. Now, you might say, that's not a big deal. Yeah, it's technically not a big deal, but it's not what I asked for. Likewise, this last page here on the English is a shared page with the French. So when you're flipping from the other side, from the French side, you end on this page as well, which has basically who the, our game designers or who did the development. Bobby Fiorentino helped with the campaign and everything. All information, other games from Tim Robot Games. All that information's on here, which is shared for both languages. So they did not do that correctly. Tisk, tisk. Okay. Oh my God. I promise you this is not going to be one of those moments where you see somebody blow up on air, but my gosh. Another thing I said with this manufacturer, I can see the linen finish there, which looks really nice. I mean, the card quality is very, very nice. Very, very nice. But I said after we got our last prototypes, they had the cards wrapped in elastic band. And I said, please do not put elastic bands around the cards when you send me anything. Prototypes, mock-ups, reviewer copies, finished goods. I do not want any elastic bands on anything because when you wrap elastic bands around cards, you start getting like denting. Like I can see from the edge here, the denting on the cards. It damages the cards. It is not hard to stick them in like a little Ziploc bag. So a little miffed that I just saw another elastic band. All right. And what is all this stuff in the box, you might ask? What are all these cards? One thing we threw in at the last second, and this wasn't even part of like the campaign. This is something just when we were finalizing our print files. I said, you know what? This is something I want to do because it's the right thing to do. Although it is a bit dark. Might want to change the font color on that, is the reference cards. But not just reference cards in English. We've got reference cards in multiple languages. Here's another example of something I had, again, probably 6 conversations on. And I can see that although they said, yes, they fully understand, no problem at all. These reference cards have... Oh, no, we're good. Okay, they're lucky. They're lucky. This is the one thing I was like... okay, so the reference cards we have on one side and the other, that's right, because we changed it last second. So, but it's in lots of languages. We got German, we got French, we got Spanish, Italian, and English in the actual game, printed in the game. So any of these other languages, we have extra reference cards so they don't have to kind of pull up their phone and do reference that way. Likewise, one thing we're going to do for our European backers, and this is like a 98% chance that we're doing this. It's not a 100% chance, but it's about a 98% chance, is we are going to include an actual Italian-German book with the game. They're going to ship with the game. So with their pledge, it'll go into the overall shipping box. They can swap it out for the English one that's in the box. Again, we want people to have the best possible experience with this game. So for us, quality was important. So that's that. So in summary, and then the inside of the box, again, I can see some green peeking through. This one's not as bad on the inside because the plastic tray is going to sit in here, so you're not really going to see this anyways. But it is what it is. Okay. In summary, what are my thoughts? Number one, I'm crazy excited for this game. When you get to see the actual, getting close to the actual print, it's awesome. It's just a great feeling. For my own games, it's something that I love the feeling of when you get a printout of something you've created. And that's kind of come from your mind, your imagination. It's awesome. I love it. It is just an incredible feeling. So on a positive note, really good to see that. Second positive note, the outside of the box printing is great. The finish on all these is awesome. Premium matte finish. It looks awesome. Areas where I'm concerned that we need to address, quite frankly, with the manufacturer. And it's almost bad enough that I might even ask for another proof. I mean, I run the risk of delaying things another week, but there's some concerning things here. Number one, the book. I mean, we've had this conversation 6 times, right? Like, please. I'll send the video again, right, of how that's supposed to be oriented. The player boards. I want to double check that specking on when the light hits a certain way. I think that's varnished because these are handmade, but I'm going to just double check that. The fact that sandwich layer graphic is not lining up properly on 2 of the boards is a huge error. It might seem small, but if you're only sending 1 copy of something and that 1 copy, there's no quality control to sign off on that on their end, it makes me concerned with, well, okay, what's going to happen with the final production? The inside of the box, that's more of a graphic issue. I'm going to fix that. That's not a problem. And what was the other one? There was one more thing where I was just like, ugh. Thickness of the boards, just want to double check that wasn't changed. Cards look great. Other than that, yeah, those are my main concerns. Oh, in the center board, why I'm seeing the lines, because again, that's sloppy cutting. Granted, they're doing it by hand, but again, if you're only doing one by hand, you think that all your focus is on one. It's not like you're doing 100 widgets. And then the 3 slipped through where it's like, oh, I didn't quite get the line right on that one. You're doing 1. So that's another thing I need to figure out. So that's it. I won't drag this on anymore. Gosh, it's been 20 minutes already, or 25 minutes. Can't believe it. Hope you enjoyed this box opening. This gives you some insight into what I look for anyways when I'm getting to the printing proof stage of a game, before we get ready to actually go to full production for our backers. And again, all these thoughts and concerns are to ensure that you guys are getting the best possible game you can. So thanks for watching. Hope you join us tonight with our podcast with Frank West from the City of Games, who does the Alley Cats. It's going to be a fun interview. Check it out. Talk soon. Cheers.